Welcome to Screen Stand. Probably not coming to America. Alright, we're gonna head over to the couch. The Boondocks are coming back in April. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was awesome. Moving on to the comic book front. Ben Affleck as Batman. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Jesse Eisenberg got another one. Kevin Hart as Deathstroke. I mean, come on, it'll be ironic. Why? Stop showing bad video game movies. This looks awful. It's worthless. I can't. Who the fuck asked for a Sly Cooper movie? Well, that was fun while it lasted. Welcome, Slenderholics, to another episode of Screened In. Today's review, Ghost in the Shell. We're going to get into the good, we're going to get into the bad, and we're going to get into the things that were just baffling about this movie. First off, let's give a quick synopsis. So Ghost in the Shell is based on the anime of the same name. It stars Scarlett Johansson as the Major, a woman who died and had her brain put into a cybernetic robotic body. So before we get into this movie in depth, I think we really need to go to the concession stand, because there's a lot of things that we have to discuss and you're going to need a drink. And we're back from the concession stand. I hope you all enjoyed that beverage, because we got a lot to get into. So let's start off with the good in Ghost in the Shell. About the best thing this movie has going for it is the visuals. While they're not the best visuals I've seen in a movie, Ghost in the Shell does tout visuals that keep you vaguely interested. From the opening sequence where we see the Major's robotic body being created, even up to certain action scenes, Ghost in the Shell does deliver. But that's about all Ghost in the Shell delivers. For a movie that's based on a very cerebral subject, this movie is not a thinking person's movie. It covers every cliche of your basic action adventure movie so poorly. And the worst part about it is, it's pretty boring for an action adventure movie. I feel like Ghost in the Shell was trying to be smart, and it didn't deliver on its intelligence. It just kind of nitpicked at certain things just to seem like, hey, we're going into intelligent territory, we're trying to make you think, and then they leave stuff on the table. So let's talk about a couple of the cliches that go on in this movie. You get the "you're not the same as the robots" cliche, because the Major feels different because she's an outsider, because oh my god, she's a robot and she thinks she's just like the actual robots. You even get the end of the movie superhero voice-over montage while she sits on top of a building and describes who she is and what she is of. If you're going into this movie for only the visuals, that is about all you're going to get out of it, and even that's not enough to pay full admission. Most of the actors, including Scarlett Johansson, either are bad actors or are not putting their all into this movie. You get baffling things going on, like subjects that are brought up, addressed, and dropped without some sort of conclusion. Scenes just happen for no reason. I would like to say the editing is poor in this movie, but I don't even think that the editing is the main problem. I just think that this script was probably shorter than the average script, and they used a lot of padding to try to make a 2-hour movie, and it failed. I found myself bored a lot with Ghost in the Shell. I found myself cringing at a lot of the things that they did wrong with Ghost in the Shell. As someone who has seen Standalone Complex, even the most recent movie that they brought out for the anniversary, and has seen the original 1995 movie, I found that they took a lot of the subject matter from this movie and they watered it down severely. So since it's the future, Japan looks like Blade Runner's future. It seems like every action movie based in the future nowadays has to look like Blade Runner. If I remember correctly, in the anime, there was sunshine in Ghost in the Shell. The skies were blue. This movie has two colors, black and gray. No one expected Scarlett Johansson to put in a very good showing, but the one thing I was hoping for in Ghost in the Shell was that she would at least be surrounded by good actors. Everybody else in this movie is doing this for a paycheck. Everybody is monotone. There's no emotion. I can understand that it's the future, and so they're probably used to this stuff, but act like you care. There were some things about this movie that I found odd and pretty much pulled me out of this movie. First off, Aramaki, played by Beat Takeshi, who, by the way, Beat Takeshi was probably one of the only real standouts in this movie. And that's saying a lot. But I digress. Aramaki in this movie speaks Japanese. And that's because Beat Takeshi speaks Japanese. Understandable. The movie takes place in Japan. But this is what I found weird. He is the only person in this movie that speaks Japanese. Why does that concern me? Because everybody speaks English to him and he responds to them in Japanese. So they understand Japanese and he understands English, but he doesn't speak English to the people that are speaking English to him, and they don't speak Japanese to the person that speaks Japanese. So one of the weirdest lines that came out of this movie and was very off-putting came out of the mouth of Scarlett Johansson. Her and Bato are walking through a neighborhood, and Bato has just picked up some food that he's going to feed his dogs with. As they walk over to the dogs, the Major says, and I quote, "For someone who hates humans, why do you like dogs so much?" That was a stupid fucking question. A question that you answered within the question. Who wrote that line? I mentioned the bad acting in this movie and how a lot of people just didn't care. But the standout for the worst actor, or rather actress in this movie, was Juliette Binoche. I don't know what she had to do to get a role in this movie, but please, never act again. Do everybody a favor and never get on the big screen again. You might have killed this movie single-handedly, and that's saying a lot. The majority of this movie literally stands on major set pieces that they rip straight from the anime and the movies. It's a mixture of a little bit of everything within Ghost in the Shell lore. I don't know if I can say this works or not, because it seems like this entire movie relies on those major set pieces, and that the viewer, who I'm assuming they are thinking is a fan of the anime, is watching this and saying, oh my god, they're recreating this sequence in live action. But this is a niche movie, so who were these sequences for? Because the people that watch the anime are a vast minority. So my final point is connected to the elephant in the room, and that's the whitewashing controversy this movie suffered through. So, one of the things I found odd in Ghost in the Shell is that for a movie that takes place in Japan, there was a majority of white people. I wouldn't have minded this if, say, we got an explanation. Maybe something happened that led to a mass immigration. Maybe there was another war. Something. We don't get that. It's just naturally expected that a ton of white people are in Japan. Are there Japanese people in Japan? Oh, sure there are. But you only ever really see them in downtrodden areas or in a particularly infamous scene that I'll get into in a moment. The only black people in the movie get killed at the beginning, and that's African dignitaries, so we're cut out immediately. But one of the reasons why I thought that that should have been addressed is because, like I mentioned before, Aramaki is the only person that speaks Japanese in this movie. So it would have been, you could have garnered some brownie points had you mentioned or alluded to the fact that Japan had been Americanized or made more European centric or something to that nature. You don't go there. You don't mention it. And to me, I think that's probably just as bad as the whitewashing, if not worse. But let's get to the actual whitewashing and the Major herself. In this movie, you find out that the Major used to be a Japanese girl or a Japanese young woman, so to speak. You get shots of the origin of how she died and how she became the Major, but they obscure the faces of the Japanese men and women who are killed in the raid that killed the Major, including the Major herself. I kind of thought that was insensitive, to say the least. We don't even get to see this woman's face to get a sense of who she was as a person before she was killed. As of the recording of this review, Ghost in the Shell is not doing too well at the box office. It would seem that the insensitivity of the whitewashing subject, as well as the fact that this was a niche genre, anime, a lot of people may like anime in America, but anime is tricky to pull people in because of the stigmas that it has. It would seem that all of these, along with a poor script, a poor director, and a poor lead actress, led to this movie's doom out the gate. And that's a shame, because Ghost in the Shell could have been something great. It's a shame. We were on a roll with good movies this year. Logan, Get Out, hell, even Power Rangers is doing pretty good. And then we hit this bump in the road. But that's okay. There's more good movies coming. I'm even praying Wonder Woman is good. So until next time, peace.